Ladies and gentlemen, this is Why Minor represents Alpha Beta Gold. I'm Cameron James, and joining me, as always, Jason Porter, and from the beginning, yawning off screen.
Sorry. No, I wasn't yawning. I was looking at something. I'm always yawning. I'm always yawning.
The beard. It's a daily beard change for you. Now it looks like you got the goatee coming in nice and thick.
Well, that's just it. I was completely shaven last week, and you paid no attention to that. Yeah. So I was completely clean shaven last week, and you're just like, you just don't know anything.
No, and now you got the goatee. Shaved. You got the goatee.
Well, this is called I just haven't shaved, so I'll probably shave in another couple weeks.
Weeks.
Yeah.
This is probably a solid, like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It's always good to do a full reset every hot minute. I think.
Yeah, I do that. I do that in the summer, but I respectfully missed out on the summer because there was no summer.
Yeah, I do it more often in summer. I'll do it year round, but I do it more often in the summer just because it.
Really?
Cast.
Yeah, well, the worst is when you shave and then you go and it's fucking like 30 degrees out and you're like, oh my god, and you have aftershave on, it's like fucking freezing. Yep. Man, I feel bad.
Just assaults you.
I feel bad for people that cannot fucking grow facial hair.
There was a period of time where I couldn't, man. When I was like before 12? I got into college. Well, no, there was a period of time like just before I got into college where I couldn't for the life of me grow out a beard. And then I don't know what happened. I was just like, one day I was like, I'm going to try to grow out a beard and I'm not going to shave. And then I let it just grow and it looked gross and disgusting for like a month. And then I shaved it. And then somehow magically after that, it just happened and I could do it. So,
really?
Yeah. I guess I just had to try it. And then
I shaved for the first time in 6th grade.
I was going to say Cameron's probably had that since he was like 12 or 13.
Cameron was a fucking kid in like 5th grade with a full beard and just the chest hair popping out of his fucking Batman shirt.
He's walking off the school bus with an electric shave and just doing this.
Definitely was. I just had a mustache.
Well, most kids had the little gross, dirty, like dirty Sanchez.
Yeah, was it like the little dirty Sanchez style?
Oh yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Cameron, the hairiest 5-year-old on the planet.
What the fuck, you?
I just spilled my water. All over my fucking chair. Oh, the hairiest 5-year-old on the planet.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't grow my hair long for like the longest time. It just would like poof out like a fro, I look like something from freaking like 1970s. And now my hair just like falls out. Now I look like I don't know, Chuck Norris.
That's why.
Like that.
You just gotta dry. If you want your hair to look a certain way, you just have to do it for a long time and then stop and then do it again and again and again, and then eventually it just fucking works.
They put my hair in I went to a comedy show yesterday and we got back and my friend's wife put my hair in French braids. That was the kid.
Oh wow!
No idea what I looked like.
So, Cameron with French braids.
Yeah, it was an interesting sight to see. Apparently,
cool.
Needless to say. So once again, this is Why Am I Nerd? It's Alpha Beta Gold. Where you can follow us on Instagram at Why Am I Nerd Official, Facebook.com/Why Am I Nerd, and listen to new episodes every Monday on YouTube or your favorite podcast service. So, Jason, you finished the order. I did not. I just got to the mansion.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's like chapter 11. Yeah, chapter 11. And I have to say, that's
all the chapters went together for me because like some of them were long campaign missions and then others was basically like a 7-minute cutscene.
So what did you think of it without going into spoilery? Because I'm not done yet. Or you're frozen.
Oh.
He's definitely frozen.
He definitely froze for a second, so let's see when he comes back. He must feel like I got a feeling he's going to try. Oh, we hear you, so that's good.
We kind of hear you.
You're in and out.
Oh, okay. Am I still frozen?
Was it?
I have no idea what's going on. Hold on a sec.
Okay, well, we're getting better. So, Cameron, tell me, because obviously if he's beating it, you can talk more freely. True. Or because you're not going to spoil anything for either one of us.
So I still really like the game. I think it's really fun. Again, I just got to the mansion mission where you have to do that stealth with the crossbow to get in. You know, you're in that part. I actually had a lot of issues with that mission. I don't know why it took me forever to beat. I don't know if I just like didn't want to do it because I don't like the game's pretty fast paced. You're constantly going or cutscenes, and like it just kind of like halted for a second. And I was like, ugh, like I ready to do that, and I kept getting caught like every 5 seconds. And I actually yesterday was like, okay, I genuinely have no fucking idea what's going on in this story right now because I'm so confused. So I went and I read the Wikipedia just to kind of catch up on what was going on. But yeah, I like the game. I think the game is great. I like we said last week, I'm disappointed that they're, as of right now, not planning a sequel or even a prequel, like whatever it may or may not be. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's a good game. I'm also playing Gears Tactics at the same time, which I like Gears Tactics. I'm assuming, like I said last week, I'm assuming it's just like XCOM. You know, you have 2 main guys, like your main characters, and then you have like a bunch of like recruits that you can recruit. And I'm assuming if they die, it's over. I'm assuming they're gone and I have to restart. Which I guess my concern is like, let's say I'm in like I get to like, I don't know, one of the final acts. Now you obviously can't answer because you haven't played it, but you did play XCOM, right?
I dabbled with XCOM.
So I guess my question is, if I get to like one of the later acts and my whole team's, all my like recruits die and I have to recruit somebody new, if my whole team's at level 20, these new recruits are going to be, I'm assuming, at level 1, or or maybe
I don't know. Well, that depends on how they structured it. I mean, just try not to have anybody die. Or now, you could potentially just sacrifice one to the wolves and see what happens for shits and kicks, because at least you can power level up another unit pretty quickly. But you could always just see. I mean, if he dies, he dies. If he doesn't, then if he comes back, then good.
Yeah. I mean, Gears Tactics is fun. It's just more Gears. Again, I won't probably play Gears 5 just because Gears 5 just looks like Gears 1, 2, 3, and 4. Jason looks like he's still frozen, so back. And I think we're back with a technical difficulty that Jason may or may not return, depending on what happens with his internet, whatever the hell that happens. So, but touching back on what we were talking about before, Matt, you're playing Hades, and
yes.
So the things maybe you can explain. So what I kind of heard was that the game obviously was you could beat the game in 30 minutes. First of all.
So I guess theoretically you could. I just discovered I thought there were more regions or biomes in this game than there are. There's only 4. So there's Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and then there's the Temple of Styx. And then it's like, if you get through the Temple of Styx, you're out the door and you fight the last boss, which, spoiler alert, Hades himself. Obviously, he doesn't want you leaving, so he's the last line of defense. I got to Hades last night, and I got his health halfway down, and I died. But now I know how to fight him. So I'll be more prepared next time. But I guess theoretically, if you're going for a speed run, you could technically beat it in probably 30 minutes, because you can do eventually they add like these little holes in the floor that you can drop, like you can sacrifice health, and I guess you drop down like a couple floors closer to like the boss of that area. I haven't done them yet because I don't really feel the need to, because I'd rather play through them, run, and get resources so that I can level up. But it's so much fucking fun. I cannot possibly recommend that game enough to anybody who's even considering the possibility of playing it. It is well worth the money that you put into it. Yeah, I love it.
It's definitely something I'm going to check out, but I have so much to play right now between finishing the Order, Gears, Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah, well, that's why. I mean, I
Mafia.
beat yesterday. Well, I bought Mafia this morning. I did, because I was like, fuck it, dude. I was like, I need something that's going to push through the latter part of like, the majority of like this month. And then, November, I can just kind of take it easy, because it's like basically 2 weeks into November, shit's going to the next gen. But I beat Blood Truth yesterday, finally.
Did you?
And
I saw you playing.
Dude, I want them to do a sequel. I want them to make them at least another one of those. I mean, obviously, I feel like it leaves it open for possibilities for more. So that's good. Still got to finish Astrobot, but that's easy. That'll just be, when I'm want to do something that's fun and cute, I'll play that.
Yeah.
And then I'm also still playing 13 Sentinels, which I've been kind of pushing through real hard, like late last night and most of this morning. I've been playing a lot of that. So my plate's reasonably full, but not like to an uncomfortable degree. But Hades is just, it's so much fun. And even though it's like a roguelike, so every time you die, you're just starting, you know, you have stats that always can be leveled up and stay that way. Even when I got to Hades and I died and I was like, fuck, I died, I wasn't like annoyed with it. It's just like, you're just like, all right, start again. You know, you don't get angry. So for me, at least, I don't get.
Did you get the gun?
Gun? What do you talk about, gun?
Apparently there's a gun in the game.
I mean, you get like other weapons. I've mostly been using just the stock sword, which I really like, and I'd pretty much use that. But the 3 other weapons that I have access to are a bow, a shield, and then there's a spear. There are slots for more weapons. I just haven't obtained them yet, and I'm not quite sure how you obtain them, because it's so cool how like I ran all the way to Hades, and then as I got to Hades, I got to the end, and I was starting from the top again after I died, and then on that immediate next run, they introduced the final god that you could get powers from, which is really fucking cool. And then they actually started introducing new enemies, which is even crazier. So it's like every time you think you've seen it all, it seems like they just keep adding more shit into it, which is fucking cool.
So are you playing it on that god mode, or are you playing it on?
I'm still playing it on the god mode because honestly, I wanted to get a little bit more enjoyment out of it instead of being stressed. I don't know if it would be too much different than what I'm doing, even if I didn't have it on there. I would just take hits harder. That's really it. I mean, but like, it all depends on like knowing your enemies and knowing what they're capable of doing. And then, your powers that you get from the gods. Like you either, everything's totally randomized. So it's like every run is going to be totally different. Like the run that got me to Hades was exactly a lot of the powers that I would have wanted, which I was stacked powerful by the time I got to him. So, yeah, it's just all randomized. It's just fun. That's really like the only way I can describe it. Like, honestly, it's probably the most well-rounded game I played all year. Yeah.
Game of the year contender?
Definitely in probably the top 5 games I played this entire year.
Unfortunately, it does have to go up against The Last of Us Part 2, which will probably end up winning, I'm assuming.
It'll definitely, like, in terms of like games, like games of the year, I feel like that's definitely going to be on like the list of like IGN and Game Informer. Like, we'll definitely put it in there running. It's really just they fucking crushed it with this game. It's so much fun.
Good.
So,
good. Glad you did well with it. So, speaking of games as well, what you can possibly add to your list. Not yours specifically, but anyone listening to this list. PlayStation's free games are Vampire and Need for Speed Payback. And Xbox free games are Slayway Camp Butcher's Cut, Made of Skur, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, and Costume Quest. So I think PlayStation might have the edge this month on free games. I did not play Vampire. I think you did, right?
I did. Yeah, honestly, it was not a bad game. When it first came out, there were a lot of bugs and it needed a bit of, post-launch work to it. I might go back and play it again. It's honestly not a bad game. It's pretty reasonably. No, I mean, it is in Victorian era England. Like your character becomes unwittingly becomes a vampire, and you're a doctor, and it's like during. I don't know, like, I guess it's like funny. Maybe it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's like during the Spanish flu era or something like that.
Oh, really?
Or before that? Yeah, there's an outbreak. And then like, you're trying to find out, like, you're trying to do your job as a doctor and then like help people. But then you're also trying to, be a vampire and also find out like how the fuck you got turned and who did it to you and why and all that shit. But it's crazy because like every character you meet in the game, you can potentially, like, your leveling up system, like you required blood, like you have to drain people, but if you kill people, it's like there are consequences for killing every single person. It's not like you have to pick and choose who you're gonna feed on to level up, or you could just play through you can play through without ever feeding on anybody. Like it's one of those games. It gives you a lot of fucking choices on what you can do. The graphics are okay. Combat's kind of like It's Dark Souls-esque, but it's not nearly as difficult as far as I was concerned.
So it's not more on the lines, like I was under the impression the game was similar to like Until Dawn, but I'm assuming it's not like that.
No, that's more like Until Dawn's more like on the rails, whereas this is like semi-open world. Like you're at different parts of like England or like London that you're fucking around in, like sewers and shit, and there's like all different kinds of like creatures that you're going up against. Like you're not just going up against vampires. There's like all sorts of weird ghouls and shit, and like infected people who are like half infected with like Spanish flu, but also half infected by like some corrupted fucking diseased vampire, and they're turning into these like pussy fucking creatures. There's a lot more going on in that game than people would give it credit for. Well, it's not just a game about vampires being vampires. It's good, honestly, especially if it's free too. Just fucking download it and give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean it's free, so I'm gonna do it. I might as well add it to my list.
Should absolutely try it. See what you think.
Why the fuck not? The only thing, which I guess could be a good leeway into our first segment, which is this whole controversy where Sony might not allow the save files from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. So, a game like this, like if I start it and if I don't finish it, then I get my PlayStation 5. I can't. The only way I can finish the game without restarting would be to keep my PlayStation 4 and just play it on the PlayStation 4. I'm not following why they're not allowing this to happen. Is it a cloud issue? Is it PlayStation being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't sell your PlayStation 4 and you should keep it? Which doesn't make sense.
Well, I was going to say some of what I've been reading is some developers have been coming out saying like, like the reason why we're not carrying over saves is because like we're relaunching like our game. So like, the one I saw was for Maneater, the game with the shark. Like the developers for that said, hey, your save data won't carry over to the PS5 version, not because it won't carry over, but because the PS5 version is a separate application, which makes sense. But it still doesn't say like, what if I just want to play my PS4 version on my PS5? I'm not fully sure what the communication issue is, on a UI standpoint or just for like a hardware standpoint, why it won't allow for it. But it honestly, it doesn't really matter too much to me. I mean, there are a couple games where if I was going to be playing it on PS5, PS4 game on my PS5, I'd maybe want to have access to my save file. But by and large, I feel like I would want to maybe just start fucking playing it from the top. Like if I was going to go play, even though I'll wait to play it until the PS5 specific version comes out, but say I wanted to just scratch my itch and play. No, if I wanted to just scratch my itch and play like, okay, so that's a good point. So let's just do the Cyberpunk. I mean, Cyberpunk, let's say, I'm able somehow, because even though it comes out a week after the PlayStation 5 comes out. So let's just say like, I didn't get a PS5 and I started playing it on my PS4. That would suck if I couldn't transfer the data because then I just started it. So I'm either forced to keep playing it on my PS4 or I've got to start fresh on my PS5. But I guess at that point I would rather just start fresh, but I'm not, in truth, I'm not going to start playing Cyberpunk until I start playing it on my PS5. Now, my problem would come in if, when they release the PS5 specific version of Cyberpunk later, if they say, well, even though you played the PS4 version of Cyberpunk on your PS5, the save data does not work with the PS5 version. That could be problematic because then that, again, forces you into having to play again. But with a game like that, new runs are always fun. I mean, I played The Witcher like 4 or 5 different fucking times. So
you beat that game that many times?
Yeah. Damn. That's why I love The Witcher. Yeah, dude, I love The Witcher.
And both DLCs?
Not every time. 2 of the times though. But yeah, it's okay. But I mean, I can understand some people getting pissed off about that because I guess games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, that could be problematic where you're trying to play it, it's on there, and it's like, well, great, all my progress is not available. But games like Destiny, for instance, it's not something you have to worry about because it's just kept on their servers. Nothing's kept on your hard drive. Like I don't have to worry about transferring my save data for Destiny to the cloud before I go to PS5. It's just there. You're just logging in and it's going to their servers and picking up your data and then you're just playing it. So that's not a problem. But yeah, I can see it. It's problematic, but they need to explain it more than like, what's the reason? Don't just say, sorry, it's just not going to work. Tell people why it's not going to work. Because then people will be more compelled to say, all right, well, if that's the reason why it's not going to work, I can just keep my PS4 around, which isn't such a bad thing. I'm going to be doing that for at least, I would imagine, probably quite a few months after the 5 comes out. I'm going to have a PS4 still. Eventually I'll get rid of it, but definitely not right away. So
yeah, I guess the other thing too is just the fact of like, if I just lost my train of thought.
PS5 data, save data.
No, so I was listening to somebody say this, how like, I guess when Xbox One, whatever you want to call it, the current gen Xbox and PlayStation 4 came out, Sony did that spoof where they went, I guess it was E3 or something like that, where they're like, oh, this is how we share games.
This is how we trade, and you just handed it off.
Yeah.
So
this kind of seems like almost like Microsoft's kind of been taking a little bit of a cleaner approach this time around than they did last time, just being like, overall saying, hey, here's how the system works, here's what we're doing. And they're not really getting much shit, like they did last time, which is interesting.
No, well, that's, and that, coming from people who are largely PlayStation people, Microsoft has been very communicative about everything that they're doing with their console. Obviously, there are still things that need to be answered, but they're pretty straightforward about everything, which is exactly not what they did last time. So it shows that they've learned their lesson. They're being more forthcoming, whereas I think it's a little bit the case right now that Sony might just be maybe a little conceited because they've had such a good run on this current, the current generation, that they're just maybe a little, little big in their britches. So they're just like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. But at this point, you're just over a month out. You need to start telling people more things about your system. People ask questions. You got to start fucking answering those questions.
It's kind of it's like with not to cut you off, but it's almost like you could say that the 360 did better than PlayStation 3.
100%. And then that wasn't even and then wasn't even a comparison.
Yeah, and then Microsoft came out with the one, and they were kind of like, it's like the roles are switched.
Yeah, and that's I don't think it necessarily means like, oh, the Xbox is going to be back at the top this time around just because Sony's not being more forthcoming. I think we might be, generally speaking, past that point. At this time now, it's just where do you want to play your games? What games do you want to be playing? Who do you want to be playing them with? And what services do you want? Who offers what you want the most?
Yeah,
is that Microsoft? Is it PlayStation? Is it Nintendo? Or is it fucking PC? Whoever offers you the most of what gives you the most bang for your buck and where you want to put your money, go fucking put your money in them. In truth, I always say it. I talk and I say shitty things about Xbox, whatever. I don't give a fuck where you play your games. Just play your games, enjoy it, and have fun. If having fun for you is getting an Xbox Series X, getting Game Pass, and fucking having access to hundreds of fucking things, do it. Me, I want a PlayStation. I want fucking Demon Souls. And that's what I want. So that's for me. That's it. It's not, none of this shit is going to change anything for me. Now, who knows? 6 months from now, I could be sitting on here on the podcast going, yeah, man, PlayStation's okay. It's not the best, but I've got it. Will that necessarily mean that I'm going to go buy an Xbox? Still probably not, because I don't need 2 of these fucking consoles lying around, But I think it's going to end up being okay for everybody. I think Sony just needs to be, Sony just needs to truly be more forthcoming. They need to show people what the UI is going to look like. I was reading that earlier on Reddit because there was these in Japan, like some people got their hands on the console and were able to play it. So not to like shift the gear slightly, but some people in Japan were able to, like, I guess like YouTubers and streamers, whatever, were able to get their hands on it, like go to a place where they're sitting in like in an all white room with a bunch of lights. And it's like, here's this fancy ass TV and here's a PlayStation 5 right in front of you. Like play, they were given like the ability to play 2 things. They played Astro's Playroom and they played Godfall. And the one interview that I was reading, the guy was like, I still don't know what the user interface looks like. So your dashboard, like they're like, that's the one thing that everybody wants to see. It's like, we don't know what the dashboards look like for both of these consoles. Like, I don't think they've shown Xbox.
The game must have been started already for them when they played.
It was, yeah. And I think they just like, we're like, here's this one. And then when you want to play this one, just like, we're going to go just switch it over to this one. But in terms of that, and, not knowing what the user interface looks like, the one thing that I really liked that I heard, now it is obviously just one opinion, but the guy said that when he like got into the room, because it was all translated, he said when he got into the room, he's like, a room was really warm, and it was probably because there was no like air conditioning and like all the lights were on. So it was just very like warm. And he thought he heard like fans kicking on, and he's like, oh, is that like the PlayStation? Like, is it, oh my God, is that what I'm hearing? But he said after like the 90-minute session that he had, where he played a little bit of Astro's Playroom and then he played Godfall, which I would imagine Godfall is much more graphically intensive in terms of just performance than Astro's Playroom. He said that like he had the ability to like, physically go touch the PlayStation after that. Like, he was handling it. He said the thing was like fucking ice cold.
Really?
After like 90 minutes of playing. Yeah, he said he went to touch it and he was expecting it to be warm, and he used the phrase cold, not like cool to the touch. He said cold. So 90 minutes of gameplay, and for the most part, at least with this one, it's cold is very promising, because, one person commented on it on Reddit and said, well, maybe they just got that one was from a good batch of PlayStation 5s and everything was done so perfectly with this one. But the immediate 8 comments after that were all people saying, well, when I got my PS4 Pro, when that first came out, I took that shit out of the box and it sounded like a jet engine. So this is definitely promising that after a 90-minute gameplay session for a demo, this thing was not hot. And there were people questioning like, well, maybe that wasn't, the PlayStation was just fake and it was made to look like it and it was running off elsewhere. But like the cables were running off of it. Like you could hear, you could kind of like hear it's whirring, but for the most part, it's quiet and it runs cool, that was the biggest issue, I think, for a lot of people, is they don't want their console sounding like it's a fucking plane taking off. Yeah. And that's why, I know that because when I had my first Pro, it was the same situation. It was loud as fuck. So my biggest thing is, obviously I want it to perform well, but I want it to be quiet. It doesn't have to be as fucking quiet like it's not even turned on, but I just don't want to be playing things at some points and it's just so fucking loud, like I have to put on a headset on the highest volume to drown it out. That's what I don't want.
That's how I had to play The Last of Us. Like, I'm playing The Order, obviously. We've talked about this before. Yeah. And my PlayStation doesn't make a sound. It's completely quiet. And then I put, obviously The Last of Us in. It's like, I'm like, God. It's fucking.
Well, that was one of the things they had mentioned with the PS5, is that I guess with PS4, it's not the power draw of the console is variable. So it changes depending on what the console is doing. So like it ramps itself up, it dials itself down, and that's why the fan will kick up and go fucking crazy all over the place. But they said with the PS5, it is just a set power draw. So it's always going to be drawing the same amount of power, no matter if it's fucking up here with what it's trying to do or all the way down here. So that's going to be, that's going to contribute to a lot of that cooling and lack of fan noise. But when I see the pictures, I've seen some high res pictures of that thing from that event. It's fucking huge, but it's very cool looking. Like it really looks like a futuristic piece of technology. And the way I'll send you like the photo album, but like when you're like looking at it from like the top down and shit, this thing is basically, it's like a box that's one giant like ventilated thing. Like it's got so many ports and vents on it that if this thing can't regulate its heat very well, I don't think they'll ever be able to crack that code.
How did they have the unit sitting? Was it vertical or was it?
It was vertical. It's vertical. And they showed it oriented horizontally. But what strikes me as strange is with the horizontal orientation, the disk drive is on the base. It's like, it would be on the floor. So I feel like if the disc is spinning in that thing, that might create some humming, especially if it's on like a wooden display case or something like that, and you're laying it horizontally, that might create some noise. But I think they're marketing this that, you want to stand it vertically, and I will certainly be standing it vertically. Like it's going to look, I already know where mine is. So like I'm looking dead ahead right now where I'm sitting. I have a small little wooden console, it's probably like 3 feet across. And then I've actually moved a bunch of things recently. I've moved it over, and then off to the side of it, there's this big open space right next to it. That's where I'm going to stand it. It's going to look like a fucking computer tower. Like, you're old, you're just sitting at your desk and it's going to basically look like a computer tower. It's going to be in wide open. It's going to have all the room in the world to get fresh air that it wants. It's going to be well ventilated.
I might just put mine on my floor. Like, or on top.
That's probably, I think that's going to be the best thing for a lot of people. A lot of people are concerned, and I understand if you're trying to conserve space, you know, you want to keep it in your television console. Like, I would love to be able to stand it up in my console where I've done it before with the Pro. Well, the worst thing is I definitely can't, because if I do it, it's going to be flush with the top of the fucking thing. So it's going to not be able to pull in any air, and the thing's going to probably explode and overheat if I tried to put it in there. I have to keep it out in the open. So I don't have a problem with that, though. It's vertical, it's big, but it's not, you know, wide. It's not like this fucking wide, you know, it's like this, and then it's about, you know, it's like 16 inches tall. So whatever, I'm going to put it on the side of that thing and I'll be good. I maintain my PlayStation. I periodically take the fucking thing, I unplug it, and I crack the case off, and I hit it with some dust cleaner. Cameron, you should be doing that too. And as soon as I know how to tear the PlayStation 5 down, I'll be periodically cracking the case off of it and getting in there with a compressed air and just hitting it up.
Here's my excuse. Here's my excuse as to why I don't clean it. Because to get the fucking cables back in it from the way that it sits on my fucking TV thing is a pain in the ass. And I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah, but you know what's also a pain in the ass is having to spend fucking $500 to buy a new one.
I'm gonna have to spend fucking $500 or $400 to buy a PlayStation 5 in a month anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In terms of the PS5, it's easier to maintain that thing. Well, you said keep it out in the open. So you should do it at the very least, just because the PS5 has got those vents along the top. Just take one of those compressed air cans and just go right on it and just hit it up like that every once in a while. You'll be way better off than 90% of people.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Xbox ventilates, because the S looks like it's a huge fan. Looks like the box just looks like a fan. But the X,
I think that's what that is. It looks, the S, I think that big black circle on it is a fan, and that would make sense, because if that thing was just a complete flat top, it's like it wouldn't work out very well. And then the X, I think the fan is at the top, or maybe it's like that's where it brings, much like the PS5. I would think it brings the air in at the top, and then it just pushes it out somewhere out the back. But I've seen pictures like Alana Pierce and Greg Miller both have Xboxes right now for play testing and getting ready for dropping their reviews and talking about games or whatever. And I think one of them showed a picture of the back of it, and I didn't see any.
I think Alana Pierce
fans or ports on the back of it. Yeah, I didn't see any pictures. I didn't see anything on the back of it that would suggest there's a fan on the back. So maybe it just generates fucking heat and just pushes that shit right out the top like a chimney. Yeah. I don't know, but that would be that would make the most sense to me, because it sure as shit can't push it out the bottom. Like, the Xbox has to be stood vertically. I don't think you can have it horizontally. I think it is set specifically has to be vertical.
Yeah, I wonder what they got to play with the Xbox. I did see Alana Pierce's photo. Unfortunately, I will go on the record saying this. I had to unfollow Greg Miller on Instagram because of the whole political thing going on right now. I couldn't stand like politics being shoved in my face. So I was like, when the presidential election's over, I will respectfully refollow you. But you know, when someone's shoving like vote this, vote, I'm voting this, dude, I'm like, dude, like, keep it yourself, bro. Like, no disrespect. Like, I respect that you want to be heard, but not right now. I can't deal with politics in the world with everything else that's going on. So
fair enough.
But I'm interested to see did she get a game? Like, were they giving?
Well, no, I don't think they have to have, because what's the point if someone says, "Hey, we're Microsoft. You see this new system? There it is. You just sit there and you can fucking look at it, but you can't do anything else."
What game would they have given them? Because I mean,
I'm sure they gave them whatever. I'm sure they probably. No, I would imagine they probably were given digital codes, or I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm assuming they gave them these consoles, and it's like, no, we're giving you these consoles. Like, you don't have to return these. Like, these are just your consoles. You guys are so big in the industry. We want you to talk about this shit. We're giving you this console. They probably gave them like physical and digital copies of every game that's going to come out at launch, so they could fuck around and comment on it. That would be my guess. So whatever Microsoft's first party launch titles are going to be, and then they're probably playing like NBA and shit and fucking racing games, and they're just to say like, hey, wow, look how good this shit looks. Like, it's in 60 FPS and 4K. They're the next month. I mean, and then that's, of course, I don't know if they've got PlayStations yet, but that's going to be it. They're going to have to juggle 2 fucking consoles and a ton of fucking games to be able to comment on all this shit inside of the next month. Like, that's all they're going to be doing is just, this day I'm going to be playing Xbox, that day I'm going to be playing PlayStation, Xbox, PlayStation, Xbox, PlayStation. Like, that's all it's going to be for these people, is just doing it. But no, they had to have given them at least a few games. Otherwise, it's like, cool, I had this box, I turned it on. That looks nice. I turned it off.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I guess you're right when you break it down that way. But yeah, it'll be, and being that it is crunch time, again, it is all the games are, I mean, the systems are out in like almost pretty much a month, like let's just say a month, and obviously all these guys are going to be pushing to produce more systems and get more pre-orders up, really honing down on it and putting all the extra time they can. Obviously, it was released this week that Cyberpunk is now, doing their development crunch on that game. And I don't know. I feel like I haven't heard any sort of development crunch recently. The last time I really heard it was with Red Dead 2 with Rockstar, and that was like a huge deal. And now, obviously,
because I think with Rockstar it was it was very toxic though, and it was like crunch in a toxic way, and it lasted a really long time. Like it wasn't something that was short-lived, but I guess the reason why CD Projekt is, I guess, getting some shit for it was because the director said that there was going to be a no crunch policy. Like they didn't want to have to do it, but they're crunching. And they've got just over a month, and I believe they said that the crunch is going to be mandatory 6-day work weeks, which for a lot of developers is not entirely uncommon, especially this close to if it truly is going to be launching on the 19th of November, it wouldn't be entirely uncommon for them to be crunching at this point, to get those last little bits ready to go.
You think it's going to get delayed?
Just before the podcast, I was thinking about that. As soon as I saw, your text, I was like, oh, yeah, the crunch. Honestly, if they push it back another month, I would not give a shit. I really would not. I would absolutely not care.
I don't see why they don't. Like, realistically, and I get the game was supposed to be out already. We should have been playing it by now. It should have been done. Whatever, according to the original release.
Yeah.
They're not losing anything if they say, you know what, we're going to release this thing in December.
Exactly.
Let the PlayStation 5 get its fan base, its fan base. Let the Xbox, Microsoft get its fan base and release the game. Give it another month. Because what's going to happen? The game might comes out. They're in development crunch, and then it doesn't. Maybe the game's not that great, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, they rushed it. They should have pushed it. They already pushed it back like 7 months from the original time." So It's like, what's another month going to do?
That's exactly how I feel, honestly. It wouldn't surprise me if within the next 2 weeks they say something, to the effect of, we're going to delay this. And who knows? They might just say, hey, we got to delay it like 2 weeks. Okay, a month. Fine.
Yeah.
I think if they don't release it before the end of this year, some people might get shitty about it. But if they say, hey, we're not going to release it till, what is that, December 18th? So that'd be the Friday before Christmas. Mm-hmm. If they say, hey, we're dropping it, we got to push it back, we're dropping it the week leading up to Christmas, fucking great. That's cool. I've got time off around then. So that'd be perfect. I would have no trouble with that. If they want to just take your time, dude, you don't have to crunch it. If you really feel the need to, because it's within your grasp and you can release it the 19th of November with the crunch, and it will come out and it will be the game and masterpiece you want it to be, then do it. But don't piss too many people off trying to do that. I would rather them just wait then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being like a money thing. I don't think it's like, oh, if we don't get this done in a month, we're going to lose money. I definitely don't find it to be that. Money is probably not an issue. That's why, like, when I heard it, especially everything else going on, why do it?
Yeah.
Why rush it? Like, granted, like, I mean, I could see them being like, this game gets released in February. I could see them doing that, but then again, at the same time, if they did do that and said, look, this isn't going to come out until February instead, that development crunch idea they had, it was stupid, because that means you're trying to crunch 4 months worth of work.
Well, that's like I was saying, if you think that you can get this to the point where you want it to be within the next month with the crunch, then that's okay, because that is a 1 month span of time. But if they said, yo, it's not going to come out till February, March, then you definitely are going to get some shit for that, because you're trying to stuff 20 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag, and it doesn't look good on anybody.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're actually working on anything else at the time too. Like, are they not working hardcore on it, but like, are they working on another game while doing this? Like, now
it wouldn't surprise me if they've got the
Witcher 4,
the very bones of some. Well, there's some sort of probably other game in development. They're obviously working on getting this ready for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And they also said there's a multiplayer application for this coming out too. So that could be
that could maybe be the crunch too. Maybe they're trying to get that released sooner. If you want my honest opinion, that doesn't even need to happen. Like, that game could probably be a standalone.
No, I was expecting this to be just a completely single player experience. So that extra multiplayer thing is just an extra thing, just, as it would be. So if that never ended up happening, I wouldn't care. But if it ends up being fun, then hey, cool. But I don't want them to. I just want them to take their fucking time. At this point, you've already delayed it so many times. If you play it again, just fucking do it. If people really get shitty and say, I'm going to cancel my fucking pre-order, and who cares? There's still going to be enough people buying this game. And then when word comes out that it's fun and it's great and well worth the wait, everybody will be right back on it and picking that game up and enjoying it too. So,
yeah. And it is a game, unfortunately. I probably won't have a PS4 at launch right away, just based on just based on getting one, and just based on solely, I'm not running around trying to hunt one down right now. Like, it's not really on my list of things. That's a game that I will not play on PlayStation 4. Unfortunately,
no, I will be waiting specifically. Like, I will be playing it. Yeah, I will not play that on PS4. I will play that very specifically on PS5. Even if I've got to wait longer, I will be playing that. I will not be starting that game until it's on a PS5.
Yeah, and there's like other games I would definitely replay on PlayStation 5. I'd definitely go back and play Ghost of Tsushima again, and I'd definitely go back and probably play The Last of Us Part 2 again. Maybe try to platinum that, just because the game was loud and uncomfortable. So, but we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens, and hopefully, CD Projekt Red can get their fucking shit together, but do it the right way and not the wrong way.
Yeah, well, that's why they, largely speaking, are one of the better developers out there with stuff like that. That's why this did come as big of a shock to in terms of a news story as it did, was because they don't normally do this stuff. They just say it will come out when it comes out. They said that, years ago with Cyberpunk. People asking when's Cyberpunk coming out in fucking 2017. When's it coming out? When's it coming out? And they're like, it'll be fucking ready when it's ready. Thanks, bye.
2017, they thought that game was going to come out?
Well, no. People were asking, like, when is it going to come out? And they're like, bitch, it's going to come out whenever we fucking say it's going to come out. Because that's always the question. Everybody always wants to know when's shit coming out. And people are like, oh, we're projecting fourth quarter of this year. Just shut the fuck up. And when your game is just about ready to come out, say something. Do the Nintendo thing. Make people have no idea something's coming out, and then say, hey, something's coming out and it's going to be in 2 months.
Yeah, like just tackling what kind of leading into what you just said real quick. What would they do if, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like with the God of War, they said Ragnarok is 2021. Is it really 2021? Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Now you got people looking.
That's why, exactly. Well, that's why. Yeah. Then you look foolish. Is it really 2021? That'd be great if it does, and it is truly finished. But I would say it's probably better like a 2022 thing.
100%.
That'd be me. That'd be for me. I would say 2022 sometime in that calendar year would be much more realistic, unless they're like, oh, they don't know. We're super far. We're like 80% done with this fucking game. Then yeah, sure, that would probably make sense. But no, don't fuck that one up either. Take your fucking time with that game. Seriously, take your fucking time. Do not rush that shit out.
There'll be a lot of.
I will wait for that one. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll wait for that one.
So, but before we get into our final segment, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Why Am I a Nerd podcast network has been brought to you by our sponsor, Me Moms. The best breakfast and lunch down the Jersey Shore with 3 great locations in Wall Township, Middletown, and Brick, New Jersey. Me Mom specializes in unique and fun takes on your traditional lunch and breakfast items. Open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can find more information at www.memoms.com.
All right. Well, we're back, and Jason has finally managed to get his Wi-Fi thing in. So we're gonna before we go into what I'm talking about before, you were gonna describe the order and your thoughts on it.
Yeah. For some reason, I was under the impression that game was going to be 6 hours. It was not 6 hours.
Really?
I think it took me about probably like 10 to go through. But I'm one of those people that like I will walk around and look at everything in games like that. Like I'll walk around just to like see if there's a little search icon over here where I can I like the story part of it too. It's not just like go and shoot. So I tend to dilly-dally a little bit in that style of stuff just because for one, the visuals were insane. Oh my God, you were right. That game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's right now that can't even come close to that. And that was what, 5 years ago at this point?
2015. Yeah, 2015. And think that, there are games that were made 2 days ago that look like they were made 2 generations ago. And that game was 5 years and is still fucking up here.
That just blew me away. 10 out of 10 for graphics. Absolutely. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think when all was said and done, it took about 9.5 to 10 hours, and I really did enjoy it. And I am super bummed that there's no sequel.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely the world in that game is just really cool. Like I was doing the one scene before you have to get in the mansion. I was like on the when you have to climb on the roofs with the Lunkin, or fuck the L guy.
Lucan.
What's his name?
Lucian,
yeah. And I stopped on
Lucan.
Something like that. I stopped on one of the bridge things. And I looked down, and there was just a guy bringing out a box from it looked like a restaurant, and just went to the garbage can, dumped the box out of the garbage can, started yelling at somebody else, and just walked away. And I was like, oh, that's a neat little detail. And I don't really ever take the time to look at that. Or when I was on the roof, so I just scanned the area, and you could see people in the windows of the little house, the houses. They're doing something. But the fact that they took that much time to do it made me say to myself, man, if this was an open world game in this environment, I'd be totally in. It's a really cool steampunk, I guess you could say, environment. And there's really not many steampunk games out there, period. Obviously, Cyberpunk is maybe the closest thing in a sense of putting the word punk in something, but I don't know. I think that's a really cool setting, and it would be cool for them to revisit that in a sense of, even if it is open world, I would be totally down to do that, play that game in an open world setting, 110%. Again, I didn't like the little stealthy part of the one part with the mansion. I just was having problems with it. Like I said, with my character just kept hugging the walls, and I would get spotted by some rando. And I know they had the little lanterns. It was really easy. It was easy to tell where people were, but I was having more of a problem just having my guy not keep sticking to every damn wall. And I did feel there's a kind of weird thing too that the game did, which is, again, just me nitpicking, was sometimes it would have you hit X to climb, and then other times it would have you hit triangle to climb. And I was like, why is this switching?
Yeah, I noticed that too. Different action button or different buttons for different actions. When all of the other games, it's you walk up to a ladder and you press, square or X, whatever it is, consistent throughout the entire game. This one, that kind of threw me off a little bit too.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Metal Gear Solid, how Metal Gear Solid twists the whole fucking controller scheme just to be able to, do their thing. But it's a good game. Everyone should definitely go play it. It's $5, and Jason, we said before, Matt was saying that Vampire is free on PlayStation this month, October 6th, I think, and that's kind of in the similar. I don't know if you played it or not. Did you play it?
I have not, no, but it is going to be downloaded.
Yeah, check that shit out. For sure.
Same type of environment you were saying, and he was saying.
It's that Victorian England setting, but it's Victorian England. There's no steampunk like Tesla lightning shooting guns in it. It's just you're using swords and hatchets and knives and shit like that, and vampire powers. Yeah. It's cool. You have cool vampire powers that are pretty fucking sweet too. So it's definitely fun. Lots of choices. It's like Victorian Mass Effect.
Really?
If that's like a good reference. Yeah, because there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of characters and character relationships to juggle. And then, of course, as I was saying, deciding whether you're going to fucking kill somebody or not and eat them is a huge issue in that game, because you'll meet a lot of people and you'll go, oh man, I've got a really good relationship with this person, but fuck, if I kill this person, I could level up like 2 times. So you're like, I can totally do it. And that's the other thing too, is you can't just blindly kill people. You have to like have like really good vampire powers. You have to like seduce them and lure them to a place where no one's going to find them, and then you can kill them. You can't just fucking blindly go in somewhere and feed on somebody. So definitely a lot of fun. It's like totally check that game out.
I will be
a lot of fun.
dabbing into that.
Yeah.
So my big topic that I want to talk about this week was obviously this fucking ridiculous Spider-Man thing, because like, what the fuck? I don't understand why any game developer in their right mind would redesign a character for essentially a Game of the Year edition of the game, is what you can arguably say it is. And who wants to start? Because, damn.
So basically, everyone that, and again, I'm not into Spider-Man, it's not my thing, but basically everybody that was just Dinklage from when
did you just make a Destiny reference?
Yep, they were Dinklage. It was when they took it's when they took Peter Dinklage and then completely recast the character Ghost as Nolan North.
Nathan Drake. Yeah, Nolan North.
Nolan North does that now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's done it for longer than Dinklage has.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even close. Like, the faces aren't even close. The voices for that game weren't even close. So I don't know why they did it. I read the whole release and everything that, was sent out. I couldn't care one way or the other, but yeah, it was basically, everyone was Dinklage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my thing is, like, they obviously, when I first saw that, I literally said to myself, this looks like Tom Holland. But apparently they're trying to say, oh, we didn't do that. We didn't go and base this off of Tom Holland. You totally base this off of Tom Holland. Let's not fucking lie to everybody. Like, we ain't fucking stupid.
Well, since they didn't just make up a face. You know that is a legitimate person that they used.
No. I know, but whoever they found is obviously somebody that looks very close to Tom Holland. And they were probably like, oh, let's just get somebody that looks really close to Tom Holland because we can't afford Tom Holland, and let's try to make it combine into the MCU, I guess. But granted, I didn't have a problem with the original looking Spider-Man Peter Parker. I thought he looked fine. Okay, they're trying to say he looked old, but granted, like,
he did look old. The two side-by-side images, the original one did look considerably older.
Yeah, but it made sense to the story because he was like out of school. I don't think he was in. He wasn't
in this universe. This Peter Parker is closing in on 30. I think he's like 26 or 27 years old.
So now they go and they made him look younger purposely. They purposely made him look younger because they wanted him to, for some reason, look younger. But now all the stuff that happens in, like, originally what you played as, with the older version of him will not look right with a young
fucking MJ. MJ's gonna look like his fucking babysitter more than his girlfriend now, unless they decide to redesign MJ too and make her look a little younger. Because MJ looks like, no offense, they look like adults. Like they're not in high school. They're like not even in college anymore. They're fucking full up adults at that point.
And now he looks like he's in high school.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's weird because that one picture I sent you where it was like, here's the fucking picture of Peter Parker who looks younger than the 15-year-old Miles Morales in that game. And then now even in the Miles Morales game, Miles looks older than, which at that point it's like a year later. So at 16 or whatever, 16 and a half years old, he looks older than Peter Parker, who is at least a decade older than him.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
It's crazy.
I don't get it.
Here's one thing, though, that's a problem, though, and I think I talked about this back when The Last of Us 2 came out and Laura Bailey was getting a fucking hard time. It's not okay to send death threats to the director of a fucking game because they changed the way somebody looked and you don't fucking like it. grow the fuck up, because the person I think it's Brian Intihar has been getting crazy death threats because of this fucking change. So grow up, please. Just
Really?
putting that out there in the world. Again, I don't think I should ever have to say that it's okay. It's not okay to send death threats because someone made a change of a character that you didn't fucking like. I don't like it, but I don't want this guy to die because of it. You know, I'm still gonna play the fucking games, but grow the fuck up, please, big time.
So, Matt, I'm looking at the picture that you sent out, the side by side, and that original Peter does not look pushing 30, pushing 45 or 50, maybe.
What?
Considerably older than like 25, 30.
What? He doesn't look like he's pushing 50.
I don't think he looks.
The first one, he looks old.
He's not that old.
No. What?
Now we're into the debate.
Maybe it's the coloring. Maybe it's like the facial structure, but he looks considerably.
I know what you're talking about that sense, but like, here's the thing too.
But he looks more mature.
Yeah, he looks better in the old version than he does now, and which is interesting is I was actually when I was playing the order, I looked at this and I said to myself, for some reason, my opinion is a character that's older tends to look better in video games because it's not just like a smooth texture, like there's actually texture to the character. You know, like the main character in the order, I think what's his name, Duncan Galahad.
Galahad.
He, like, his facial animations, because he's got the wrinkles, he's older, looks good. Then he's, when he's talking to the girl, she just kind of looks like a generic,
person.
Yeah, CGI character person. So the fact that they did such a big change to Peter in this just does not make sense, and I don't really think it's a very smart choice. But again, who knows why? I know they said they were trying to make it so that he was closer to the age of Miles.
No, he's closer. Oh, I thought it was because they said it was because of the the facial actor for the new Peter is much more the structure of his face is more similar to the guy Yuri Lowenthal who does the voice of Peter Parker. So it's a better matchup for his vocalizations and the moving of his mouth. That was one of the big things. It provides a more realistic performance, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, they could have easily just taken the other guy, that the original facial guy, and just threw him on this new game. But I did read too that it was supposed to be to make it. They wanted him to be closer to Miles Morales' age, which makes no fucking logical sense because then Peter Parker's still supposed to be in his, mid-20s, let's say, mid to late 20s, and then here he is, like, with a six. Like, it doesn't. I don't understand how. Will I play the game again? No, fuck it, I'm out. Like, I have no reason to play the game a second time.
Well, I mean, I'm invested in that story. I was saying to my cousin, this is not my Peter Parker, but I'm still going to play it because I'm invested in that story. I would like to know more. It's like you ever see Starship Troopers? Would you like to know more? That's what I. Yeah. That is my. I would like to know more about that story, and I will continue investing my time in it. But I cannot say that I am fond of the choice. But I don't want the people who make this game to die because they made this choice.
It's just like a. That'd be like if they went and redid John Marston in a freaking Red Dead. Oh, here's a new version of him. Like there was just weird. It was just weird. It was a weird decision. It was a weird topic.
I mean,
it came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere.
If you look at the designs of fucking Nathan Drake from the first one to the most recent one, it actually looks like it could be slightly different people. He has changed so much, and they've changed his face to, like, obviously as the graphics have improved, but compared to, Nathan Drake in 4 and Nathan Drake in 1, they do look like they could potentially be two different people.
He's also significantly older, isn't he?
Obviously. Yep. But still, they made so many changes. I mean, in truth, it is what it is, dude. They're still going to have people playing those games and making lots of money. And then the amount of memes that are going to come out from that game of just people laughing at new Peter Parker will be great. And I'm sure I'll laugh too.
Yeah. And then I thought to myself, maybe they're doing it to line up with the fact that Spider-Man's coming to the Avengers game.
Yeah. Oh, that could be it too. Yeah, that could be another reason why. Side note, just because I've been holding this in my hand for a little while. So when Jason made that reference about Peter Dinklage being the voice of the Ghost in Destiny, I have a relic from when the original Destiny 1 came out. I got the Ghost edition of that game. And I have the little talking ghost. The battery is dead on it, but if I charge this, it still is Peter Dinklage. So I actually still have this very rare relic of Peter Dinklage existing as a voice actor in this game. So yeah,
that's great.
I got this relic of Heath Ledger as the fucking Joker.
Is that a Pez dispenser?
Oh no, this is where you smoke tobacco.
Oh, the dank weeds.
There's no hole.
You smoke some dank weeds.
Yeah, it'll cost you $24. Who the fuck know? Whatever. But,
that's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, once again, thank you all for joining us today. And you can follow us on Instagram at YMiNerdOfficial, Facebook.com/YMiNerd, and listen to this episode while you're listening to it. So it's Monday or someday after Monday that you're listening to this.
It's the year 2077, and you're living cyberpunk presently. And this has been archived, and it's just we're dead. We've been gone for a very long time at this point. We're all super dead.
Yeah,
2077, Cameron. That's 50 years from now. We might all be dead by then.
Unless they come up with some new thing that slows down freaking aging, and I could be like 120 years old and look like the stud that I am now. Or maybe I'll just
on that note, cool guys.
Maybe I'll just look like Beetlejuice. Maybe I'll just look like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, you look like Beetlejuice when she sprinkles the dust on his head and it shrinks down to the little baby shrunken head.
Dude, that movie's on repeat right now. I've seen the movie 3 times in the past fucking 2 days. That's the best.
It never gets old.
No.
It never gets old.
And you know what the best is? What's-his-face does a really good job doing that role.
Michael Keaton?
Yeah. He nails it.
People want Michael Keaton to come back as Batman. I want him to do more Beetlejuice.
100%.
Especially now that he's older, I want him to do more Beetlejuice.
A Beetlejuice reboot?
They can't
no, not even a reboot. Just fucking make new ones where he's just Beetlejuice. He's just still doing it with new people.
Yeah.
He had the best personality for that character, too, because it was like kind of crazy, kind of ad-lib. It was just, I couldn't see anyone else other than him as that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the best is and the best is the voice that he does. And like when he's like, he's talking like Winona Ryder or one of the ghosts. And they're like, what are you qualified in? And he like switches like his normal voice. He's like, oh, I have a PhD and this, that, and the other thing. And he just like switches back to the Beetlejuice voice on the fly. I'm like, classic. It's so good. Everyone needs to go watch that movie. It's freaking on Freeform. It's Halloween time. So, and if you haven't seen Beetlejuice, it's a classic, true story. I just saw it for the first time 2 days ago. So now
wow.
On that note, I'm Cameron James. That's just Matt, Chase Reporter. Until next time, we're out.